So hi everyone, hope you're doing really well. Welcome to this video where we share 5 top tips for you having a wonderfully successful 2023. Very first thing you want to do is have a plan and you want to make sure you write it down. I've also put here a collection of stick people, and this is because it represents the core people in your life of which are nearly always involved in every key decision you make. So for me, it's Rebecca. You might include grandparents. But whoever's going to be involved or who might support you or who has a significant voice in this, you want to make sure you let them know. And a good way of doing that is you say to them, we'd love you to have you around for a takeaway. It's for the sake of argument. Come around for a takeaway. We're going to have pizza and a bottle of wine or two on a Friday night. If you come at 8 o'clock, the kids will be in bed. We'd love you to come around. We've got some very exciting plans for 2023 that we'd love to share with you. And they're all very intrigued and they say, yeah, wonderful, we'll look forward to seeing you. They come round. And what you want to do is you want to have this conversation with them now because they are significant in your life. And for the sake of this argument, I'm going to use grandparents because it's perhaps relatable to many, but whoever is significant in your life, you want them involved in this planning stage right at the beginning. And by the way, why am I releasing this video now? And the answer to that is, it's best to plan 2023 before we even get close. We've got a few more weeks now. You can sit down and have these conversations with your significant people. And it can be a great time between Christmas and New Year if you're not going to see them at Christmas or New Year. So you get them around, they come around, pizza arrives, you start tucking away and you say, well, you know what, we're going to have a plan and this year we're going to buy a house. We're going to buy a buy-to-let house. We wanted to do it for years, but we're going to do it in 2023. Our plan is to buy one house. Now, again, for the sake of the argument, I don't know what situation you are in exactly. You might have 2 houses and you just want another house. But buying a house, I think, is realistic as a goal for people who watch this channel, and that's going to be our plan. Now, very quickly, let me just run through them from very quick numbers. I have done videos where I've explained this in much more detail, but we're going to say we're going to buy just a standard buy-to-let house for £100,000, which means we are going to need a total of £30,000 to do that. Why £30,000? £25,000 for a deposit because you're going to buy it with a mortgage, 75% loan to value mortgage, and there are various fees totaling £5,000. But what's important is you need £30,000 to buy a £100,000 house. What happens over a period of time? We are making the assumption and we are asserting the fact that this house is going to be worth £140,000 at some point in the future. It's going to go up in value, which then means by the time it hits £140,000 in value, it's gone up by £40,000. Which then what you can do, as soon as you have that £40,000 increase, you can pull out 75% of it. So you can pull out £30,000. And what can you do with that £30,000? You can then put it to buy another £100,000 house. So the power of just buying your first house is critical to the power of you compounding and continue to scale your portfolio at some point in years and months to come. Months and years to come. So you want to get on and buy a house. That's the basis of our plan. It's the basis of our conversation with our significant others. They come round and you say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to buy a £100,000 house. And then this conversation continues. You say, look, we're going to have to put this into some sort of plan. I would love your input and your insight and some of your help if that's okay. Now, I've basically done the plan for you. This is basically what you need to cover. So you need to look at, first of all, you need to look at houses and you need to look at money. So you need to use money to buy houses. So you want to get a map out, either Google Maps on a big screen or actually a hard copy, depends on your preference. But you want to identify a couple of areas at least where your property investing strategy, buy-to-let property investing strategy could work. And a top tip for you would be find 2 of them, and you want to find them where you can find properties that are terraced. Terraced properties work really, really well, particularly 3 beds. So you look for your areas and you find clusters of 3-bed properties. And then what you say we're going to do, we're going to go and do some viewings, and then we're going to put offers in with the idea of ending up buying one this year. And while you're doing that sort of area analysis, what you're going to look at, you also want to be speaking to a potential broker and saying, this is our financial situation. And don't worry, by the way, if you are not on a high income. When I started this, if you know anything about me, I bought our first buy-to-let with no provable income, none. And it's still possible. So speak to a broker, you'd be surprised what they can come up with. They are worth their weight in gold. And you can speak to gold. You can speak to Kit, our mortgage broker. I get nothing for it. It's just there to help you. And I have done a video on that. I'll see if I can leave a link in the description below if you're interested in chatting to him. You also want to find a good solicitor, look at some reviews, and potentially line up a surveyor, at least in your minds, who is RICS registered, so Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. You want them. You can be a surveyor without any form of qualification. I wouldn't recommend that. But you will need one if you're going to end up buying one. So you do those things simultaneously, you plan it in, and now what you're going to do you want to make sure you diarise it. Now, before I just move on to the diarising section, you want 2 areas. Now, what I would do is I'd recommend you focusing on your second best area. Or if you've got 3, look at your 3rd best area and just spend a month going around viewing properties, speaking to estate agents, having phone calls, doing your property viewings and inspections, and perhaps putting an offer up. You never know, you might buy it in your first month. You might find a wonderful house and you might end up buying it. But I would do it in my second best area, because you will come across as an amateur, particularly if you're starting off, because you will be an amateur. You can't fast track experience, you will have no experience. You'll realise in time that what you said at the beginning of your property investing journey was quite new. It will come across as new and you will make mistakes. Totally fine, accept it, go out, be brave and go and do some of the activity. But then what you do is after a month or 2, you say, look, I've learned a lot of experience. I've realised through reviewing and analysing what I've done, I'm now better at it, and now you can move to your preferred area when you're a bit more experienced. At least that's an idea. You can do what you like. But I would then move on to step 3 and diarise it. And I would start doing this in that same pizza, wine, chat while your significant friends are around. And do it on a shared diary. So you're going to say, look, we have some things in our life that are absolutely non-negotiable. So for instance, if I take my example, because I don't know yours, but I do not work on a Sunday, absolutely don't. I'm a man of faith. Our faith community is very important. I do not work on a Sunday. I don't work on a Wednesday morning either, because I have the children. It's called daddy time. I take them out to do various things. Rebecca has quiet time to do our business finances and so on. You get the idea. There are set times. It might be for you, I have a job, I can't work this time, but I do finish early on a Friday or whatever. You'll have your things that are absolutely sacrosanct. You can't move, you can't change. But what you do find is there are gaps of time where you can do your business. And if you think, sitting there thinking, no, I am so overwhelmed, I can't, well then just think how much time you spend surfing the internet, on social media or whatever else. And that can all be business time. You can watch TV a bit later on. It's perhaps a bit direct, but it's true. You can always find time to do something. So then find your time, your compartmentalized times. And you might say, if I go back to this example of your significant friends and families, is you can like say to your grandparents, would you mind if our grandchildren once a month came round on a Friday evening, slept over at grandma and granddad's house, and then on Saturday morning, we go out and do some viewings and we come and join you for lunch at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and bring them back home. How about that? The grandparents will be like, yeah, it's amazing. I love being with my grandchildren. The kids are wonderfully excited because they get to stay at someone else's house, and you get some precious time where you can actually move the needle in your business. But diarise all the activity for a month or 2. I wouldn't do any more than that because you never know what's going to happen, but just do a month or 2. It's manageable, it doesn't overwhelm, and it's shared. The other thing about this is when you come to meet these people, they might say to you, oh, I happened to notice on Wednesday you went and looked at number 20 Pinterest Street, and how did that go? Like, did you manage to do an offer? And they'll talk about it. The other thing about a shared diary is when they have the rest of their life that's not involved with you, so your parents, the children's grandparents, might speak to other people at work and say, oh, my son, my daughter is doing XYZ, they're buying a house next year, very excited that property is the way they're going to go, and the plan is to buy it with private finance and doing some refurbishment work, working with private investors. And guess what you're doing right now is other people are sharing what you are doing, what your plans are, and that becomes very believable, and you never know what it might lead to at some point in the future. Believe me, at some point, from unusual angles and from unusual corners, people will approach you to work with you and lend you money. It just happens. So a shared diary, shared communication, it gives you a great start to the new year. And then often lots of people do this, but they never actually get past doing the activity of it. So then now you've got a month or 2 planned out, you've got kid-free time, you've got the non-movables, you've got time for you to go and do your viewings and speak to estate agents, and so go and do it. And as you do it, document everything. I sound like Gary Vee, don't I? But document everything. Take photographs of every single house you're going to go to, take the odd video. Even if you don't share it anywhere, I would document it. That's one thing I wish I'd done a bit earlier in my business. I wish I'd done right from the start as a complete newbie. I wish I'd recorded myself, because you'd see how awkward I was. And anyway, document it. And also I would write down notes. Don't get lazy and just take pictures and videos. That's the easiest thing to do. Do take notes. Here's my current diary. I have done several of these now. Write down everything. Write down what you noticed, but importantly, also write down your questions. And this is so critical. This is hopefully a great tip for you. Write down questions. So to give you an example, I had offers. I put offers in and I got the feedback once, the vendor is looking for a bit more. And I was like, well, what exactly does that mean? Am I £500 off? Am I £1,000 off? Am I £5,000 off? Like, what do you mean by a bit more? And I wrote this down. How do I deal with this price objection? And I wrote it down, and I went and spoke to a number of other people more experienced in property than me, and I've now learned a way to deal with those objections if I get that sort of feedback. So write down your questions, like what to do with this window, how much does it take the window to replace, or whatever. Write them down, find people that can give you the answers, and over a period of time, you have your record, and every single page is a new day of activity, and they can stay on a shelf somewhere in an office, or somewhere in a study on a bookshelf, and you can go back and look at what you've improved upon, and you've got a great record of what you've done. It can also be used for posts for like LinkedIn and stuff if you wanted to. And I can be better on that myself. But document everything, write down stuff, and write down questions. And the final step is really important. Review what you do. Again, some people get this far and stop here. Some people get this far and do this, but then don't do this. And then they wonder why they're just sort of doing the same thing every single year, but they're not actually getting any better. Like, I'm still doing the same stuff. You don't actually improve. So review. And I would start by, if you're at the beginning of this, review 2022, particularly if you're a person who's had this plan to buy an investment portfolio since 2019, since 2020, 2021, 2022, and you're still at the beginning thinking 2023 is going to be the year I'm going to buy an investment property, and you've still not done it. Go back and say, why didn't I in 2022? And you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. And you might sit down and do it with your significant others and say, why don't I do it? Tell me, like, give me an external view on why I haven't done. If you can find out why you haven't done it, you can then not repeat them for 2023. That's a massive don't repeat stuff that's not done. And then monthly going forwards, you want to say, this is what I did this month. I've done my area analysis, I've viewed these properties, I've put these offers in, this is what I've got to, and this is what's in the pipeline, so to speak. I've got these things booked up. Review it with your significant others. Keep them in the loop. They'll keep supporting you. They'll have, if they've got the children, for instance, they might say, well, you know what, how about we have the children every 2 weeks and whatever. So they'll be more supportive the more you see them doing activity. At least that's been our case. The people that know and like us and trust us best, as soon as we started doing stuff, it became even more supportive. So monthly have reviews, and the plan is to not do the stuff that didn't work in the past, and to adjust and to improve as you go forward into 2023. The plan is really to help you before you get to Christmas next year. When you sit down to Christmas lunch in 2023, you sit there with your significant others and you say, do you know what? We bought a house this year. And that is our plan for you. Unashamedly, I'd love everyone to be better by just going on and buying their first or next house this year. If you did like this video and it's helpful, please, if you wouldn't mind, please like it and please subscribe if you're watching this for the very first time, or you've watched regularly but don't subscribe. And also, I would say, if you do want help 2023, then we do offer help. Just see the description. All it starts with is chat. We might not be able to help you, but we do listen to where you're at, and we try and help give you a plan, a guiding star for 2023, and it just might be the best year yet. Made even better if you have some help. Thank you for watching. We appreciate everything you've done this year, this video. We look forward to seeing you now in 2023. This is the last video of this year. Look forward to seeing you in 2023. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.